Liam never expected his life to change on a Tuesday morning. For years, his world had been quiet. Routine-heavy days, blueprints, emails, and evening dinners alone. It was steady, even comforting. Love wasn't something he was chasing. But when Julie walked into that conference room, arms full of folders and a smile that didn't belong in a room full of deadlines, something shifted. She wasn't loud or flashy, just warm, present. And in a life full of silence, she felt like music. Liam caught himself watching her longer than he meant to, drawn to her laugh. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear while setting up coffee for the meeting. It seemed trivial, yet wasn't. There was a stillness about her that pulled him in, not like fireworks, but like sunlight creeping into a dark room. They talked casually at first, a joke here, a compliment there. But by the time she called him engineer guy with that teasing smirk, Liam knew he didn't want this to be a passing moment. In the quiet corners of busy life, he had found something rare. Or at least, that's what he believed at the time. He had no idea what was coming. Just a few weeks into what felt like the most natural connection Liam had ever known, the truth came out, softly, nervously, over half-drunk coffee cups and a shared slice of untouched banana bread. Julie sat across from him at their favorite little cafe, the one with creaky chairs and sunlight that spilled in like honey through the tall windows. Her fingers wouldn't stop twisting the thin, silver ring on her hand, her eyes darting toward the window, as if rehearsing the confession against the traffic outside. "I need to tell you something," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. Liam nodded, a twinge of anxiety tightening in his chest. "I have a son," she finally said. "His name is Jordan. He's 6. The words hung in the air, delicate and dangerous. Julie's voice wavered as she rushed to explain how his father, Paul, had walked out on them without warning, how she wasn't hiding Jordan, just afraid to lose something good before it even had a chance to grow. Liam didn't speak right away, but as he looked into her eyes, wide with fear and a flicker of fragile hope, something in him shifted. He reached for her hand, steady and certain. "It doesn't change how I feel," he said. "I still want to know you. Both of you." It was a moment of quiet bravery, hers in sharing the truth, his in accepting it. Neither of them knew it, but that moment would echo louder than they imagined. Becoming part of Jordan's life wasn't immediate. Liam knew better than to force a connection. Trust had to be earned, especially from a boy whose idea of dad was a ghost with a charming grin and no backbone. The first time Liam met Jordan, the boy barely looked at him, choosing instead to cling to Julie's leg like a lifeline. But Liam didn't mind. He knelt down, smiled gently, and introduced himself as someone who liked dinosaurs and pancakes, 2 things he'd memorized from Julie's stories. Over time, the invisible wall between them started to thin. Jordan's shy glances turned into questions, his cautious silences into stories about school, superheroes, and snacks. Liam was patient, consistent, and kind, 3 things Paul had never been. He drove Jordan to school, cheered at soccer games, read bedtime stories about dragons and starships. He was there in ways that didn't make headlines, but mattered more than anything else. Still, despite Liam's growing presence, there were moments that stung, like when Jordan absent-mindedly referred to Paul as "my real dad." Liam would smile, but the words would echo in his chest for hours. It was a quiet ache, being the shadow to someone else's title. But he didn't back away. He kept showing up. He bought Jordan a bike, taught him how to tie his shoelaces, and kissed his bruised knees when he fell. Liam wasn't just filling a gap. He was building something from scratch. A bond made not of blood, but of moments that meant everything. At first, everything felt golden. Julie's laughter came easily. Their dinners were full of warmth, and the house they now called home echoed with playful footsteps and late-night whispers about the future. But slowly, subtly, things began to shift. Liam noticed it in the spaces between her words, in the way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. She became quieter, retreating behind excuses of fatigue or stress, always just tired or just busy. The spark that once danced so freely in her voice now flickered, as if dimmed by something she wasn't saying. She started sleeping with her phone clutched close, screen turned away from him. Her laughter, once spontaneous and full, now felt delayed, rehearsed. Liam tried not to jump to conclusions. He blamed the exhaustion of parenting, of adult life piling up. But a dull ache began to settle in his chest, a weight that came from sensing he was slowly being pushed to the edges of his own life. He missed the way Julie used to lean into him without thinking, the small kisses on his shoulder while he cooked, the sparkle in her eyes when they planned weekends. Now, she seemed more present in her texts than in the room with him. There were nights when Liam would lie in bed, watching the ceiling, listening to her breathe beside him, and feel more alone than when he lived by himself. Something was unraveling, and deep down, he feared he already knew what it was. Liam had poured his heart into Jordan's 8th birthday like a man building a cathedral. Every detail, every decoration, every smile crafted with love. The event hall gleamed with streamers and superheroes. The candy table looked like something from a storybook, and a magician was booked weeks in advance. It was meant to be a celebration of family, of growth, of everything Liam had helped build. He watched Jordan run across the room, laughing, a paper crown slightly crooked on his head, and felt a rare pride swell in his chest. But then came the moment. The candles lit, everyone gathered, silence thick in the air as Jordan closed his eyes. I wish my mom would marry my real dad so we could be a family again. The words landed like a dagger. Laughter died. Conversation stalled. Liam's smile faltered, and his heart plummeted. Julie stood nearby, frozen, her face unreadable. Liam tried to stay composed, but something inside him cracked. Later, as he was making rounds to ensure guests were enjoying themselves, he caught sight of Julie slipping outside, phone clutched tightly. He followed, instincts buzzing. And there, in the dim light of the parking lot, he saw them, Julie and Paul, her ex, locked in a kiss that spoke of secrets, of betrayals he hadn't dared imagine. The party was still going inside, music playing, children laughing. But for Liam, the celebration had ended. The candles had barely melted, and already, everything he believed in was burning to the ground. The air in the parking lot was thick, humid with betrayal. Liam stood frozen, disbelief anchoring his feet to the ground as Julie and Paul broke apart, startled by his presence. Her lips still held the shine of the kiss, and Paul, arrogant, casual, wiped his mouth like it meant nothing. The fury in Liam rose like a tidal wave. All the hours spent holding their fragile little family together, all the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the bills paid without a second thought. It all crashed into a single moment of humiliating clarity. What the hell is this? Liam asked, his voice breaking despite himself. Julie stumbled through weak excuses, her hands trembling, her voice a whisper of guilt and defensiveness. Paul, ever smug, claimed he had a right to be there. I'm his father, he said. Like those words erased years of abandonment. The worst blow came not from Paul's indifference, nor Julie's silence, but from Jordan, running into the scene, arms wide, crown slipping. Daddy, he cried, choosing a man who had done nothing over the one who had done everything. Liam tried, voice quaking, to call him back, but Jordan clung to Paul like a long-lost hero. Then Julie said it, the line that cleaved Liam in two. I think it's best if you leave. Just like that, he was dismissed. A footnote in their story. A placeholder. The man who loved too much and was loved too little. He left the party that day not just broken, but erased. Liam didn't scream. He didn't beg. He didn't demand answers that would only twist the knife deeper. Instead, he walked away, quietly, purposefully, while the chaos he once called home collapsed behind him. That night, he checked into a small hotel on the edge of town. The room was plain, the bed too firm, and the silence deafening. But for the first time in months, the silence belonged to him. No more late-night apologies that never came. No more pretending everything was fine while being slowly erased. As the city hummed outside, Liam stared at the ceiling and made his decision. Every ounce of financial support gone. He called the landlord and terminated the lease. Julie would have 1 month to vacate the home he'd built with his bare hands and exhausted heart. He returned one afternoon while they were out, packed only what was his, left the rest. He took the PS5 he bought Jordan, the coffee maker he loved, the chair where he read bedtime stories. Everything else, the toys, the furniture, the framed memories, he left behind like ashes. Julie called. She texted. Her voicemails morphed from rage to desperation. Please, Liam, don't do this to Jordan. But he didn't reply. Because this wasn't vengeance. It was clarity. He wasn't destroying their life. He was finally saving his own. Weeks passed. The silence Liam reclaimed became a fortress, not a solitude, but of healing. Then one day, Julie reached out, not with bitterness, but with something far more hollow, regret. She asked to meet, and out of curiosity, or perhaps closure, Liam agreed. At the cafe where they once spoke of futures and fairy tales, Julie arrived looking like a shadow of the woman he once knew. Her eyes were tired, voice subdued, lips pressed tight around unsaid apologies. "Paul's gone," she said almost inaudibly. "He said he wasn't ready for this, again." The irony hit Liam like a sour laugh caught in his throat. The man who shattered their family from afar had returned only to disappear once more, leaving behind the same wreckage. Julie admitted she had believed he'd changed, that for Jordan's sake he might stay. But hope built on history often crumbles. She confessed the truth. She'd chosen wrong, and in doing so, lost the one person who never faltered. Liam didn't yell. He didn't gloat. He simply watched as the pieces of her choices closed in around her. No job, barely affording rent. And Jordan now in a public school with a uniform too big and shoes too worn. It wasn't satisfaction Liam felt. It was confirmation. She hadn't wanted love. She had wanted rescue. And when the rescuer stopped rescuing, she fell. This wasn't karma. It was consequence. And for the first time in a long while, Liam didn't feel broken. He felt free. The courtroom was quiet, sterile walls, a weary judge scribbling signatures, and two people sitting feet apart yet worlds away. The divorce went through without resistance. Julie didn't have the funds to fight, and Liam had nothing left to argue for. There were no fireworks, no impassioned speeches, just silence thick with everything that had already been said, and so much more that never would be. After the judge finalized the paperwork, Julie tried to speak. Her voice trembled, not from anger, but from fear. "We don't have to end like this," she whispered. "We could fix it for Jordan." Liam met her eyes for a long moment. There had been a time when those words would have cracked him wide open. A time when he would have forgiven, fought, rebuilt. But now, he saw through it. Jordan was no longer a bond between them. He was a card she played when cornered. "Don't use him," Liam replied, his tone calm but carved from stone. This wasn't about him. It never was. Julie looked as though she might cry, but Liam had no comfort left to offer. No more lifelines. No more second chances. She signed the papers with shaking hands and left the room with her head down, her footsteps small and uncertain. Liam didn't watch her go. He didn't need to. The moment was done. He stayed behind for a while, alone in that courtroom, feeling neither joy nor pain. Only peace. Because sometimes closure isn't loud. Sometimes it's just the sound of a door finally closing. In the weeks that followed, Liam didn't rush to fill the silence. He embraced it. There were no more birthday parties to plan, no more dinners to fund, no more pretending to be someone's savior. For the first time in years, his energy belonged to him. He picked up old hobbies, redecorated his apartment with pieces that felt like his, and even started hiking again, just him and the wind. No expectations attached. He thought of Jordan sometimes, especially when passing playgrounds or hearing laughter from passing school bus. There was a soft ache, yes, but not regret. He had done everything he could. Julie and Jordan had made their choice. Liam wasn't angry anymore. He was simply done. No longer the provider, the placeholder. The emotional scaffold someone else leaned on until they found something shinier. He had been used, discarded, and forgotten, but somehow, through all that, he rediscovered himself. What once felt like a void now felt like space, room to breathe, to grow, to heal. And with every sunrise that came and went without chaos, Liam understood something simple, powerful, and true. You can lose everything and still find yourself. In today's world, it's easy to mistake self-sacrifice for love, and even easier to let loyalty blind us to being used. Liam's story is a powerful reminder. Never give so much of yourself to someone who wouldn't do the same for you. Love should be mutual, not a transaction where only one side pays the price. In relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendship, set boundaries, protect your peace, and value yourself enough to walk away when you're only being valued for what you give, not who you are. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is choosing yourself, and that's not selfish. It's necessary.